tirama, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings, good morning everyone. Morning. I just want to start by acknowledging the elder who has just spoken and his wise words and message that he shared. Very powerful and very touching for us. We experience the same, so just acknowledgements to him. I respectfully greet you all in our native language on behalf of my colleagues and I to acknowledge the Larrakia country, the Larrakia people, the traditional custodians and the rightful owners of these lands and waters of Garamila. We pay homage to you, your elders, past and present. Tēnā koutou. We also extend our recognition and respect to all the other Aboriginal and Torres Strait leaders and people, delegates and presenters who have gathered here today. Tēnā koutou. To the Aboriginal Housing Northern Territory Board, Alan Mole, Eileen, Husin, we were moved by your very touching and warm welcome to us yesterday. Thank you for having us. And also to Leanne Caton, our sincere gratitude to you for allowing us to be here and to speak today. Tēnā koe. And lastly, we also want to, we are very honoured to be joined by family members of an esteemed colleague of ours from the Borroloola country, Elders Stuart, Nancy and Gadrian. Thank you so much for being here and joining us and supporting us today. Tēnā koutou. Kia ora, my name is Ngāhuia Eruera. I'm a proud Maori woman. I was born and raised on my tribal homelands of Ngātiawa, which is on the eastern coastlands of the North Island of Aotearoa, New Zealand. A very lovely piece of paradise in Aotearoa. I absolutely love it there. I am a mum, I am a wife, and I'm a proud nanny of my granddaughter who turns 1 next week. I am also a passionate practitioner, community researcher, and hold governance roles as a board member for my tribe, serving my people on several other boards, housing trusts, sub-tribes, and youth advisory agencies. Serving my people is an honour. It is also an honour today to be here with my colleagues, and we feel very privileged to yarn with you all today about our research, our lived experiences, and work in Maori housing and homelands. Unfortunately, our colleague, Eruera Lee-Morgan, was unable to join us today, and we share his apologies. We are the directors of Pūrangakura. We have a bit of a tag team presentation today, so I'm tag number 1. Pūrangakura is an independent kaupapa Maori research centre based in Tamaki Makaurau, otherwise known as Auckland. New Zealand's largest and most populous urban centre with an estimated population of 1.82 million and is the home to the largest Māori population of any region in New Zealand. Pūrangakura brings together a collective of Māori researchers, academics, leaders and practitioners. Our multidisciplinary approach is grounded in kaupapa Māori, which is our Māori knowledge systems, and educational research. We are committed to working with and for our communities who are some of the most underserved and experience the highest rates of racial inequity in our country as Indigenous peoples. Our challenges as most Indigenous peoples are multifaceted and complex and require collaborative, integrated approaches whereby our lived realities and aspirations are at the centre of inquiry. Our work connects people and knowledge to support Māori in defining and achieving their aspirations, tino rangatiratanga. We believe that Māori communities lead the most meaningful change, which we support through our partnerships with tribal groups, organisations and communities. We bring together diverse knowledge, skills and lived experiences to develop positive, self-determining and innovative solutions with and for our people and for our wider communities of Aotearoa. Our work focuses on sovereignty, self-determination, survival, amplifying Indigenous and other marginalised voices within our communities. And in doing so, we support and uplift intergenerational well-being, growth, protection, and sustainability. Both Rau and Jenny will share with you some of our community-led research and the solutions that have emerged from this work, some of them quite deadly. So tēnā koutou katoa, enjoy.
Kia ora mai tātou. Just really conscious that we are the only Māori group here at this conference, so how important context is, and hearing about homelands and hearing about living back on country is so relevant for where we've come from as well. Our landscapes have been modified hugely. We have a much smaller land mass than Australia, but we still hold on to small parts of our land holdings and endeavour to create lives that are full of meaning and purpose and about thriving for our people. So that's effectively the purpose of Pūranga Kura, is to raise the lived experiences of our people. And this is our origins. We lived very rich lives. And then with contact up until the 1880s, 1890s, we still lived in quite close village communities, even closer as the land holdings began to dwindle and the forests were cut down and the swamps were drained. Many of our people began to move to villages like Parihaka here as a form of resistance to the land incursions and confiscations that were happening. And then, of course, we moved to, once you've cut down the trees and you've drained the swamps, then you no longer have access to the materials that you once built your houses from. So this is some of the housing that our people actually, some people still live in conditions like this now. And then, we had some glimmers of hope with Princess Te Puia Hirangi here, the woman in the middle, from the Kingitanga, the Maori King movement, and her tireless efforts to raise the housing circumstances of her people into the 1930s and 1940s. And here you've got a hybrid house where she's using indigenous fibre, the raupo, the bulrushes, that is such a good insulation material, and she's combining that with other more durable materials like corrugated iron. And then, of course, we had the Maori Affairs era from 1945 to 1989, and so many of our families have grown up in these Maori Affairs houses. They weren't particularly culturally sensitively planned, but they were warm, safe, dry, and they were on quite large sites, suburban sites, and there was enough room to keep your gardening practices going. That all ended in 1989 with the advent of the neoliberal era, and we've begun to move into some very poor housing patterns. We've mobilised in 2010, we had the first ever Maori Housing Conference, and from that we had a call to action, and from that we had the establishment of Te Matapihi, which is our peak body for Maori housing in 2011. So it's a national body, and we've been working away, advocating, supporting for those 15 years. This current government that we have in Aotearoa is a very right-leaning government, and we've had our funding slashed, and we just carry on the best we can under more difficult circumstances. And the previous government, the Jacinda Ardern government, we had almost unprecedented support for Maori housing infrastructure and construction builds, and around 1,000 homes were built in the 6 years from up until 2023. We still have some of the funding that was set aside then, supporting the tail end of those developments. This is a humble development in the North Hokianga on homeland, 9 houses plus a refurbishment of an existing house, extremely significant for every single one of those families living back in their home territories, many who haven't lived there for many years, but all selected on the basis of their commitment to assist with communal development. It's not just about living back on a homeland and doing your own thing, it's about what can you do to help uplift this wider community. And this graph represents the decline of funding in the last 3 years. So you can see in 2023 we're up to 200 million, and so we've had an 86% drop in funding in the last 3 years under this government. We've got our elections in November, and we're just doing whatever we can to get this lot out. What's happening on the ground in terms of climate change, in terms of the intensity of rain events? These are 2 slides that are very close to my heart. The image on the left is a significant landslide which has cut the road to our homeland, and it occurred in January, and it probably won't be fixed till Christmas. There are boulders that are 100 tonnes there that can't be moved or rolled down the bank, have to be broken up and dynamited. So consequently, to get to our homelands, we now have quite a big detour and a convoy situation. It affects our communities, kids going to school, it affects people who commute into town, and of course it affects even more exacerbated by the fuel crisis. So you're driving a lot longer distances with a lot more expensive fuel. The image on the right is taken out of my daughter's kitchen window, and from her home in the Hokianga Harbour area, and this is just a recent event, and that's her food store there. You can see a whātau food store, just keeping the food that's been harvested out of the rain, and the building in the distance is one of our meeting houses, our marae, which was raised up around only 6 months ago, and survived the flood. But what do you do when you're in an island? You're safe and dry, but you can't get to your people. You can't drive anywhere. So these are the issues that one of our significant research projects, Ka-inga Ma-ori, which is around the interconnection of homelands and water, that Jenny will talk about shortly. And I'll just conclude my tag with a little bit about one of the, success stories that we've been part of in the last 5-6 years, which is a national Maori housing leadership program. We observed that the activity in the Maori housing space was occurring when individuals became motivated in their home areas. They mobilised support. They almost single-handedly managed to get tens and even hundreds of dwellings built. And we observed that we couldn't afford to wait for the organic growth of these leaders, that we actually needed to supercharge them. So we proposed this, and we got a small amount of funding to develop a curriculum, and in 2021 we got together with housing leaders around the country. We wrote the curriculum and part of a 3-day event, and we then mobilised or agitated to get support to actually deliver that leadership program. So just a little bit of a timeline. I mentioned that our national peak body, Te Matapihi, established in 2011. We've now got 31 registered Maori housing providers around the country. Some are very active, some are just beginning. We've got a lot of our tribal groups now involved in housing. We'd like a lot more. We were gathering momentum from 2017 to 23. And as mentioned, we are now at a point of fast-tracking the generation of Māori housing leaders. So the thing about what we as Māori have learned over the years is you don't wait for permission. You get the people together, you invite the right people, you come together, you give credence to what you're doing by the people that are in the room, you declare your own authority, you create your own curricula. So that happened in 2021, and we determined that was 3 requirements for our students. Our students needed a revolutionary mindset. We needed to create leaders who were scrappers, people who wouldn't take no for an answer, people who would find a way to advance their housing projects. You have to be nominated by your own people, and you have to have a real project. This is not an academic course. You have to have a real project. Bring us your project, show us your mandate, and we will help to build your networks and your skills to advance your projects. So that's our document. That's our treaty that we signed ourselves. That's some of the group that were there at that 3-day session. So we've now into our 4th intake of mana ka-inga. We've got 11 students in the latest intake. We're in the middle of that now. We take students away to the home areas for 3 days at a time. They get toured around what's happening, what's positive. We have guest speakers every week online, on Zoom, teaching them about the homelessness sector, finance sector, development sector, consenting, and so on. So we're in fight mode. We're basically just carrying on the best we can, but we're really confident that the leaders that are being developed are going to be carry on to do great things in their communities. We keep in touch with them. We've got a super chat group of all the graduates of our mana ka-inga housing leadership course, and we get students to share their successes as they achieve them. And I'll now hand over to Professor Eruera Lee-Morgan for the last part of our session. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I want to join my colleagues in thanking everyone for having us and coming to stand in solidarity with you all. It's been a wonderful conference so far, really moving, and I come both as an academic but my personal experience, as we all do, and the speakers that have been on before us. I too am a grandmother. I raised my 3 grandchildren. I've been very lucky to avoid state uplift. I have a daughter who's not only been homeless, but been in emergency and transitional housing. I know the vulnerabilities and the safety concerns that exist in our housing sector in Aotearoa, and know how important this conversation that we're all involved in today is to all of us. So, tēnā koutou. I'm charged with covering very quickly 2 research projects, and I just want to say about Pūrangakura, we are an independent research centre. We're all Māori. There's not many of us in Aotearoa. We had our first symposium a couple of weeks ago, and there's about maybe 8, and we're very proud to have left the academy, and just trying to do it by ourselves and really working at decolonising and deinstitutionalising ourselves and doing research in the ways that we want to do it. And research really is just a tool for our community development. So as Rose said, Waiora Ka-inga is one of our projects. Waiora means life-giving waters, and Ka-inga means flourishing homelands. And this is a 4-year project carried out by an all Maori research team. There's about something like 40 of us in this team. And Ngāhuia talked to us about us being interdisciplinary. You know, we cannot operate research teams in these academic, arbitrary disciplines that say you are just justice or you are just architecture and building or education. And our teams, Ro is an architect by trade, I'm a teacher by trade. We have engineers, scientists, environmentalists, and we all come together under the kaupapa, under the purpose of advancing our people. I don't want to sort of dwell on this project so much, but really relate to the theme of this conference and pick 3 key words in this research question, which is intergenerational, ka-inga-based solutions. Ka-inga is our word for home and homelands. And we know, because of colonisation and what we can call often the infrastructure of theft, many of our communities lived with our polluted waterways, including our freshwater springs, no access to clean drinking water, wastewater issues, regular flooding, as Ro talked about. And they're not going to be solved by this 4-year research project. They're not going to be solved by ad hoc policy and short-term government cycles. We agree with all of those and echo those sentiments that have been said at this conference, that our solutions that are meaningful and lasting must be defined, controlled, and measured by our communities themselves. So this project brings 8, we work with 8 of our communities throughout the North Island. And our community partners nominate someone from their community and they become part of our research team, and they're employed for 2 days a week alongside the rest of us. And I sort of want to just introduce myself and our broader tribal story through one of the communities in the project, which is my own, and we're from Ihumātao, and you may have heard of that place. We were in the news about 5 years ago fighting against Fletchers, and we had a huge occupation. And for those of you who came and supported us online, virtually, and in person to our whenua, thank you. Te Motua Hiaroa, which is the island that you can see there, is part of our ancestral landscape. And it once had 7 volcanic cones. It is a sacred learning place for us and had rich gardening soil. But you can see in this slide that we had a 512 hectare sewage pond put in the 60s. And among other things, you know, our mountains were quarried. More recently, we have a so-called rehabilitation program by our local ridiculously named water department, which is refilling our old quarry sites with biosolids or human waste from the wastewater treatment plant to apparently rebuild our mountain. And this project is proposed to last to 2035. And we have a saying in Aotearoa that we are the land and the land is us. And I haven't got time to talk about the social impacts, and I really want to, resonate the emotion that has been expressed before by speakers before us. But if the land is us, you can imagine the poverty, the deprivation and the dysfunction that characterise our communities. I always think about my cousin who says her schooling experience is characterised being called the family from the shithole. Our tribal group bought back the land in 2013, but access and control remain really contested. So most of our people haven't been back. For 185 years we can see our island, but we can't go on it. And this is a picture of our research project, bringing one of our first sort of learning workshops back to our island. And there are so many things, and on this slide you can see some of the ideas our whānau, our family had in terms of what they want to do in the research project. But what they landed on, is that the solution that they have decided is the best thing to do is to bring our people back to the land, to reconnect with our place names, our stories and our practices, and restore lands and waterways in our own way. And that's really the common thread throughout all of the communities in our project, despite them being really different, as well as calling out, the monocultural and racist government policies that we've endured and their practices. We also want to call out the industry and the housing sector and the infrastructure sector and how complicit the multinational engineering companies are that control pricing and the solutions that are offered on the table. The second project that I really just want to touch on, because I'm really conscious of time, is a project called Generation Ka-inga, and it's a project that focuses on our young people. Our rangatahi, is our word for Maori young people, are the largest demographic, and they are our future, and our future is literally in their hands. It's a 4-year project, and again, a big team, 55 or so people in the team, and I purposely included rangatahi leaders as community-based researchers, as innovators, as activists, as practitioners. And part of this project has been, rangatahi being involved, purposely growing capability and capacity of Māori, kaupapa Māori researchers. Having research practices that take our people home, that experience different types of homelands and homes. And we've been lucky to have gathered the largest data set on Maori youth voices on housing, specifically housing and aspirations for housing. And I just really want to share one or two findings from our quantitative study, which is 1,000 online respondents. And that is the first and probably most important thing that our young people are saying is that our young people, our rangatahi, do not want to live in isolation. They want to live intergenerationally, they want to live collectively. Housing for them is relational. I'm going to close by and there's lots of findings in this project, and we have a symposium in a few weeks to bring the findings to the world, but as part of it, we're introducing this, what we call kaupapa ukai pō framework that has emerged from our young people's voices. Ukai pō is a Māori word that speaks to nourishment, belonging, protection, sustaining relationship between people and land. And it's really the grounding concept, and what we're proposing is kaupapa ukai pō as a theory of change. Because our aim in this research is not just to describe housing realities, but to support change. And I suppose, thinking about what John Lawrence said this morning, this really is about a revolution. It's about reform and revolution, a decolonial mindset, a social movement for change. I won't go through the 3 key elements. Maybe I should very quickly, but U is about belonging and cultural connection. Kai is about the cost of living and survival and all the things that you need materially. And pō is about the decolonial mindset. It's about the dreaming. It's about the vision, it's about our spirituality. And so we purposely put Paul in, because this framework, this kaupapa, can't be adopted by a government agency or practice. They don't have the capacity to do the dreaming. They don't have the capacity to link intergenerationally to our people. So, if we listen to our young people, they are telling us that our homes in Aotearoa and our homelands, they've got to become fortresses. They are fortresses of intergenerational care, belonging, sustenance, protection, and self-determination. That is for us, Maori Housing and Maori Hands. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Well, thank you very much for that. Do you mind answering a couple of questions from the audience? All right. If you've got a question for our presenters, please ask. We've got a microphone going around now. We've got one here.
Hello there. The word professor means truth teller, but not all the professors tell the truth. I was just wondering how you've got a methodology that was accepted by your peers in academia. I was just wondering how you got to reason with them to try and change their perspectives, because often it's those people that influence the governments, and what sort of success you had with that?
We're really good at writing proposals, and then we're really good at doing what we want to do. So we have, I want to acknowledge the academics have made space for Māori methodologies. We're really lucky. We have got these two big proposals in a funding round where we're the only Māori research team. And the last one, there was 16% success, and we made it through, and we got the proposal. So we're conscious of the privilege that we have, and we have to make it count. We have good mentors at home about how to write proposals in ways that that utilise the words that people understand, but are broad enough for us still to do our own thing. It has been really tough. We've been in this business for a long time, though, as academics, and I think, part of our role really is ensuring this next generation know how to do the same and keep using research as a tool, because it's been used against us for so many years. So I'm not really answering the question, except getting good at writing proposals, get good at partnering with institutions that are seen as valid and are seen as legitimate. We do a lot of partnering with international organisations where basically our mates are, whether it be Cornell in the States or MIT or, UTS with Jason DeSantolo and Larissa Brent and others. So, working together is really the way we've been able to do it.
There's another question here. Oh, there's one here. Yes.
Hi. First and foremost, love and strength to the Māori Queen as well, if you can take that back over there. Appreciate her. One of my, the question I actually have, since the fall of your treaty over there in Aotearoa, how do you find getting funding from government bodies? Because I know that's quite a big thing with the fall down of the treaty.
I guess the treaty hasn't fallen. Our treaty will never fall. It has been threatened. Some of the principles of the treaty and some of the legislation that it occurs in has been and is under attack. But the treaty is us, so it will never fall. The treaty is something that we've had to defend a lot. Yes, funding has been removed every day, every week. There's been diminishing funding or funding cuts and so on. But we're used to fighting, like everyone in this room. We're used to fighting, so we just keep knuckling down and finding a way forward. We know that there will be better times, and we've got to be prepared for those better times. It's like you with your housing developments. You've got to have everything lined up, ready for when the tap does get turned on. Increasingly, we're looking to our own resources within a post-treaty settlement environment with a lot of our tribes settled. Those groups are not reliant on government funding to nearly the same degree as many unsettled groups. So that's the future. The future is holding on to the treaty, keeping it strong, and increasingly not relying on government funding or government policies, basically doing it ourselves as we've done for 1,000 years.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. Yeah, because I was hearing a lot of different things about the treaty going obviously up and down, and obviously here in this country there are some nations that are going through treaty at the moment where others are choosing not to and stand in sovereignty instead. So yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Thank you for your question. And we'll take one more from...
Nathan Evans with Aboriginal Housing NT. Firstly, just thank you so much for making the trip across. A really moving and incredibly inspirational story. I just wanted to just reflect on a couple of things from listening to you all, which really resonate, I think, with all of us here. What we've heard over the last couple of days has been deeply moving, really emotional, and I think go to the heart of coming together to talk and share our work and find some new truths to move forward together. Because I think the issues are clearly shared. They're not just in this landmass that it's now Australia or in Aotearoa, it's their First Nations issues, and they impact all of us. I think to Johnny Lawrence's comments this morning, it's all of us. The kids who are hurting, they're our kids, they're all of our kids. This is our family. So I just wanted to reflect on a couple of things that really jumped out for me, some comments that really resonate for us here. You spoke about ad hoc policies and short-term governance cycles and how they're eroding self-determination for Maori. I think that really resonates in real time with everything that we're dealing with at the moment in the Northern Territory and for Aboriginal housing and homelands particularly. But also self-determination and the ability to support First Nations people to decide and determine their futures and for the kids on country. I really liked the comment around the work that's being done needs to be defined, controlled and measured by our communities and our people, and not accepting the continued erosion of these sort of imposed governance arrangements and being told how to think, what measures and what matters in how that we measure and think and what outcomes matter. I really liked comments around the need for reform and accountability is something that's resonated across a couple of days. Accountability is a really important theme, and I think, Lydia Thorpe spoke about it yesterday in terms of closing the gap in Australia. As you know, we've had a policy in place for a long time now, closing the gap. And when governments commit to closing the gap on paper, and which is really great, and we say, okay, we're going to work together with you, government, and we're going to drive these outcomes. But what we find often is that governments can surreptitiously walk away from these commitments, and there's no accountability. We have no power to hold governments accountable. We're grateful for the opportunity to sit at the table and have input into policy and program and think about the ways in which funding should be done, but ultimately we're at a disadvantage because the state is powerful. And so accountability is not always a two-way street, and I think that that's something that's really come across the last couple of days. And also the decolonial mindset, I think, is something that is really important, and that's a really powerful statement to think about. And then lastly, there was, just to finish, there was the comment made around housing for young people and being fortresses of intergenerational care was just a really, really powerful statement. And I think I'm a Ballanda, I'm a non-Indigenous man, I'm very grateful for all of the opportunities that I live on this land mass now, this sovereign land mass that was never given over. I think that we all agree that, housing is more than just the infrastructure. There's so much that's embedded in what we're talking about. And so the notion of fortresses of intergenerational care, and it goes to the power and the dreaming and these sorts of things that governments have no right or legitimacy or authority to speak about and certainly can't embed in frameworks. I just really want to extend from Aboriginal Housing NT and our board and everybody here our sincere thank you to you all for coming across. It means the world to us to have you with us. Our whānau from Aotearoa, we're really, really deeply grateful, and I think one of the things we would like to do at the end of this conference over 2 days is pull together a bit of a statement, a bit of a call to action that we would like, and I just would like to ask your permission to use some of the words that you've shared with us and some of your concepts. If that's okay, we're really grateful. Ma, thank you.